13 News Now is keeping you up to date with everything you need to know about the 2021 election.
All eyes are on Virginia. The implications of what happens here are far-reaching. Thank you for sticking with us for a special election preview newscast. All 100 seats in the House of Delegates are up for grabs, 90 of which are being contested. 3 seats in Virginia Beach could determine the balance of power. There are 23 contested House of Delegates races in Hampton Roads, with a total of 48 candidates seeking election. Right now, Democrats hold a 55-45 majority. Experts are keeping their eyes on the 21st, the 83rd, and 85th seats. That's Alex Askew, Nancy Guy, and Kelly Fowler. 13 News Now political analyst Quentin Kidd says those 3 Democrats are probably in the most competitive races that they'll ever be in, and that Republicans feel very good about taking those seats.
And as we watch what happens with those seats, what are the implications? We're
bringing back our analysts, Soji Akamajafi and Leslie Coggle. Thanks to both of you for sticking around and for what you've given us so far. It has been great.
All right, first question, and this is to you, Dr. Coggle. Are the Democrats in danger of losing their majority? Just how much are they in danger?
I think it's clear that this is going to be a closer race than they've had in the last couple of election cycles, particularly in these districts that Democrats have picked off from Republicans in the past couple of election cycles. I think Republican candidates are really seeing how stable their voter base is, and whether or not putting Democrats in these traditionally Republican House of Delegates seats was an artifact of President Trump's presidency that's weakening without him on the ticket.
Soji, if we see a change of power shift in the House of Delegates legislatively, what could that look like for Virginia?
Number one, it's going to be a precursor of what is going to happen in 2022. So that may actually have a national implication. That's number one. But coming back to the Commonwealth, some people actually believe that the Democratic agenda, especially the way it has been advanced by Governor Northam, might be in danger, regardless of who is governor. The majority that the Democrats have in their House as of now, if he does not stay, if he does not hold, that will be a real problem. Whether it is McAuliffe, especially, if it is McAuliffe who wins, the governorship.
Okay.
Dr. Coggle, I mean, we talk about legislatively, if Youngkin does get a Republican General Assembly and if he wins, Democrats did a lot of big ticket items over the last 4 years, like abolishing the death penalty, expanding voting rights and things like that. Would you see some of those things just flat out being rolled back?
I think that you're probably not going to see most of those things be rolled back. What you are going to see is a real slowdown of the Democratic agenda as it's been pushed forward.
Might we see the Texas-style abortion law be tried here in Virginia? Either of you?
I would very much doubt that a Texas-style abortion law would be tried in Virginia in the same manifestation as it is in Texas. And I would say that because I think for Republicans, abortion gets to be a really divisive issue. If you push too far, that generates the type of enthusiasm that's a benefit to them in this race, where Democrats don't seem quite as enthusiastic to turn out. And that lack of enthusiasm seems to be really pulling their candidates within the threshold of victory in a state that's trended pretty heavily Democratic.
As we're looking at how tight the races probably are in Virginia Beach and some of the candidates who are running, we have Nancy Guy, Kelly Fowler, and Alex Askew. Those are the incumbents. While on the other side, for instance, against Nancy Guy, you have Tim Anderson. People say a very strong Trump supporter, that is. I'm thinking about our business, calling him a reporter, but a strong Trump supporter. Do Virginia Beach residents care about that?
Do they care about the strength of his Trump support? Mm-hmm. You know, I think they care in the primary when kind of the voters are heavily partisan. And what I think in the general election is his ties to President Trump are not going to help him quite as cleanly as they did in the primary election when generally only Republicans are voting. It really is interesting, though, and indicative of what the Virginia Republican Party looks like, that Tim Anderson was able to defeat what was a pretty...
Britt Stolley.
Yeah, a pretty strong establishment candidate.
Soja, I'm curious your opinion on this. How could we go from the most progressive legislative agenda Virginia has seen in years out of Richmond and such a diverse General Assembly to a Republican sweep tomorrow that could completely change much of that?
First of all, I'm not even sure we're going to have a Republican sweep tomorrow. As we have seen, most of these races are very, very tight. But here's my prediction. It's not impossible that we might have Republicans take over the General Assembly. But even if that happens, and I want to agree a little bit with Leslie here, that there's not going to be a tsunami shift of policies. Things are going to slow down. But the thing that I'm most concerned about, and I'm using that word very carefully, is that some of these agendas that are on the table right now, not only will they be slowed down, it may be very, very difficult if McAuliffe becomes governor to pick them back up. So it will be, again, apart from the fact that it's going to be a bellwether for what is going to happen in 2022, it will be a fairly dramatic loss for the Democrats.
Okay, thank you very much. Stand by once again. 13 News Now wants to make sure you're informed when you head to the polls.
Yeah, for any election information that you might need, text the word VOTE to 757-628-6200, and we'll send you the 13 News Now voting guide, and you can see who's on the ballot and how to find your polling place and more. And coming up at 3:40, election protection, who you might see at the polls tomorrow and what their job is.